Should you like the artwork that you make? This is such an interesting question that has come in this week off the back of a conversation with one of my members, Varvara, who was hanging out with me in a studio session one Friday and came on to chat to us about how a while ago she was making artwork that looked like other people's. You know, when you look at artwork and you think, oh my gosh, I want to make art like them and I want to make art like that. And then she said, and I was trying to make this artwork, but it was almost feeling like it was going against my grain. And the artwork that comes more naturally to me, I'm like, oh, but I want to make art like these people. And so it was such an interesting conversation that we had, and that's what I want to talk about in today's episode. So I've experienced this throughout my time making art as well. There's this push-pull between, I believe we have an artist DNA inside of all of us. I've always believed that and I know not everyone agrees with me, and Sharon doesn't agree with me on this. My friend Sharon, she doesn't agree with this, but I believe that there is an artistic DNA inside us, and that is a uniqueness that can't be changed. I do think a large proportion of our art making is environmental, is changeable, but I do think there's a small part of each of us that it's innate, and it's kind of the way that we see, for example, we all see things completely differently, and your experiences will be completely different. That's environmental, but then I do think like the way you hold your pencil or things like that, there's little quirks in all of us that just make us really, really unique. And I believe there's a very small portion that can't be changed. There's a big portion that can be retrained. So if you decide that you want to, maybe you're very precise and rigid and you want to be looser, it's a great analogy, then there's ways that you can retrain your brain and retrain your the way you create to be looser. And so there's definitely things that you can do if you aspire to be making art in a completely different way. But then I do think there is a big chunk, as well as this artist DNA, that is unchangeable. I do think there is a big part of us as well that has this part of our brain that works in a particular way that we can't ever get away from. So, for example, Nish in our community, he didn't make art for 30 years, and he picked up a pencil and just drew the most incredible drawing that looked like it had just been he'd taken a photograph of it, and he hadn't drawn anything in 30 years. And Nish has this natural ability to really just be able to really see and his brain communicate through here down into his hand exactly what he's looking at. And it's a natural, innate way. I think part of it's innate and part of it's just the way his brain is wired, and we can't take that away from him, and that's amazing. And so for Nish then to maybe then go and look at abstract work and go, I really want to be an abstract artist. It's much more difficult when your brain is wired in that way. It's not impossible, and it's definitely, there's room to play and push yourself out of the norm and try abstract, because you usually work in a very, very precise way. 100% there's room to explore these different ways of working, because sometimes it can open up doors and it can evolve your work into new ways. So I do think there's definitely room there to do that. But the interesting question that came from Varvara was, she realised that she was looking at other people's artwork thinking, I really want to make in this way, and I really want to, adopt this technique and do this. And that admiration for the people's work sometimes then starts to make you not enjoy your own art making, because you're looking at these other people thinking, oh, I just want it to look like theirs. And so then when you execute your own art, you think, ugh. But what was interesting was Varvara said, I've now realised that there is a difference in admiring somebody else's work and leaving it there. You know, I don't have to create everything that I admire. And actually, sometimes there might be somebody else's artwork that I really like. And I might try and adopt that technique or that way of working, but it's going against my grain. And actually, maybe I just buy their artwork and put it on the wall. And we got into this whole conversation about, you know, lots of people saying that they would never put their own artwork on their walls. It's just not what they would like. And it was really interesting. It's like, do you need to like your own artwork? Does it need to go on your own walls? And I don't think, again, there's no right or wrong in all of this. It's just really good food for thought. And I don't think you have to. And I don't think you need to be your own customer. Sometimes being an artist is exploring this side of you and letting it come out of you. And it might not be the type of art that you would put on your wall. And that's okay. And that's okay. And also, when you see everybody else's artwork and it starts to feel hard or you can't replicate it, in that moment it's time to check in and think that is okay, because you are you're where you are. You can use other people as inspiration to try new techniques and new ideas. But if something is feeling difficult and you don't enjoy it, then take that as a sign that it's just not the right route for you to take, and go back to what, you know, really fires you up, and write it off as that's not part of my grain. But if it is something that you find like really challenging and you're not able to do it, but you're really determined, absolutely, you can do anything. I know loads of artists that have set their sights on working in a particular technique or medium, and for months and months it was a challenge and it's not working. And one guy I know in particular did a self-portrait every day for a year. By the end of that year, he was phenomenal at portraits in the medium that he was using. Incredible. And looked back a year before and it wasn't the case. So it goes back to that determination you have. You can learn anything. But if after that year it's still feeling like, ugh, then you're probably going against your grain. And a lot of this is just accepting and going with that flow. Still playing with these ideas. I always talk about having 20% of playtime, because the playtime comes from letting this part of you free that's not looking at your artwork and critiquing it all the time and comparing it to other people and feeling rubbish. And that part of experimenting with intention really starts to connect you with where you want to take your work. And that's how you start to develop that uniqueness that's you. You can't be anyone else except yourself. Ryan, if you're listening, posted in my community. What was it Ryan posted? He said, have you been looking on social media wishing that you could create art like someone else? And then he said, if you are, stop. Make art like you. And it was a nice reminder. I think social media and looking for other people for inspiration is fantastic. I think it's a great way to learn, and maybe if you're stuck for ideas, it's great to just look at how someone else is doing something and adopt that way of working. But then ultimately the magic comes when you make art in your own way and you go with your grain and what's inside you. And that's what makes you unique and different to every other artist. And I think, going back to the question of whether you need to like the art that you make, I don't necessarily think that you do. And I think you need to enjoy making it And there needs to be something there in that moment of approaching the art, and some curiosity and some passion whilst you're exploring it. But then afterwards, we can be our worst critic when it comes to looking at a final piece of artwork, or even not a final piece, but a work in progress. And I don't know about you, but I've made art in the past, and then I've hated it, but then I've looked at it years on and saw some good in there and thought, actually, it wasn't so bad after all. So, and I've had the other way where I've loved a piece of artwork and then I've looked back and gone, ooh, that was really terrible. Because I've grown so much in different ways, and I can spot where I gone wrong, and can see the flaws in it. But back then I didn't see it, and I loved it and I enjoyed it. So I think as people we change, and that's one of the reasons why I don't always necessarily think you have to like or love the work, because sometimes what you execute, you can't see it in that moment, and other people can. They can see some magic in what you're creating, or they can see something interesting. And the danger is, if you wait to fall in love with your work before you put it out there, you'll never get it out there. And what might happen is you make all this artwork, and then in 10 years you look back and you think, actually, it was quite good. So it was a really interesting conversation, and thank you to Varvara for bringing this conversation up, because I think it will be helpful to people to hear that you don't necessarily have to like it, and you don't necessarily have to create artwork that you see and think, oh my gosh, I want to create art like that. If you can't create art like that, it's okay. And it's okay to just admire other people's work and just accept that, actually, maybe I'll just buy pieces like that. That's not the artist that I am. And that's okay. You don't have to be the artist that can create anything. I remember when I first moved to Shropshire, where I am now, and I just remember people, when you say that you're an artist, just think that you can create anything. And actually, if you can't, then, well, you must be a rubbish artist. And I've met a lot of people over the years that think when they're an artist, it means that they should be able to just, do anything. I should be able to collage, I should be able to just draw you as I see you, I should be able to do this and do that. And if you can't, it questions your validity as an artist. And actually, what I've come to realise is we all have different strengths and weaknesses and different voices as artists, and that's what makes us all so special and interesting. And now I don't get nervous when someone says, will you do a portrait of me? Because it's like, no, it's not my strength. It's okay to admit that and say, no, that's just not the type of artist I am. So thank you for listening to me, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this too. And if you would like to explore your voice and reconnect with your art making and spend 6 weeks having fun with a bunch of other artists as you play and experiment and find out what it is that you want to explore, there is an amazing course called Make Your Mark, which is run by my friend Sharon, and it starts on the 3rd of June. So depending when you're listening to this, it might have already taken place, but you can go and check out the link to find out below. And it is an amazing course. I can't wait to take it again. It really delves into how to kickstart your art and research ideas that get you excited about making, and then how to find a starting point in your art making that helps you delve into the formal elements of art, which are fundamental to making. So Sharon takes you step by step on how to play and experiment and develop that part of your art making process, which stays with you forever. We have a alumni, Preeti, who took the course last year, who actually just informed me today that she's been accepted into an exhibition that she has had as a dream for years, and last year was rejected, and she has worked so hard since then and joined Make Your Mark and has done work with other artists, and has really honed in on these elements that Sharon teaches in Make Your Mark, and that has then gone on to get her the exhibition acceptance that has always been her dream, that she was rejected for last year. So that just shows in a year of perseverance and really working on her voice and her technique, that her work has excelled so much in such a short space of time. In a year is nothing. And that has come from deciding what she wants to really do with her artwork and what she wants to say through her art and what she needs to learn to make her artwork really strong and stand out from the crowd. And big congratulations to Preeti for persevering with that and having that rejection, but still getting back on the wagon and going, no, this is what I want to do. So really, really proud to share that news, and congratulations, Preeti. So that just shows you what you can really push forward and do when you hone in on where you want to take your artwork. So if you want to find out more, press the link. And I have some exciting live sessions actually coming up with Sharon soon, where we're going to be doing some fun videos together. So I'll let you know when they come out. For now, take care and let me know what wisdom you took from today's session, and I'll see you very soon. Bye bye.